Today on the Surviving the Human Experience podcast, I'm excited to welcome Robyn Vogel to the show. We're going to be exploring a topic that is so prevalent to the human experience: love, relationships, and why you keep choosing the wrong relationships again and again. But before we jump in, I'd like to share a little bit more about our guest with our listeners. Robyn Vogel is the author of the book Come Back to Love, A Path to Healing, which was just released, and has hosted the syndicated radio show Come Back to Love, reaching over 100,000 listeners in its first year. An internal family systems trained therapist, couple specialist, and trauma informed love and intimacy coach, Robyn has spent more than 2 decades helping individuals and couples heal emotional wounds, release shame, and experience deeper, safer, more fulfilling love within themselves and in relationships. Blending internal family systems, somatic intimacy practices, nervous system attunement, and heart centered relationship wisdom, Robyn brings warmth, depth, and a touch of magic to her work. Her gentle yet powerful approach creates spaces where people feel safe to soften, open, and return to the truth of who they are. Robyn teaches internationally, leads transformational retreats at Omega Institute in Grupala, and trains facilitators in her Come Back to Love method, empowering those to break old patterns and cultivate intimacy rooted in self-trust and emotional safety. And when she's not writing or guiding others home to love, Robyn can be found dancing, practicing yoga, meditating, or wandering somewhere beautiful in nature, following the path of curiosity, devotion, and joy. So, welcome to the show, Robyn.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Such a pleasure to be here. So
Yeah,
happy.
I'm so excited as well. This is going to be an awesome episode. You've been on such an incredible journey, both personally and professionally, and your work is literally taking you all over the world to connect with others who are seeking truth, reconnecting with themselves, and finding love. And so,
Mm.
this isn't just work for you. This is a passion. This is your purpose. You have your, own come back to love journey that led you on your path to teaching and sharing these techniques with others and finding that fulfillment through their human experience. So, before we dive into the book and all the goodness you're doing, I want to invite you to just share a little bit more about your come back to love journey with our listeners.
Goodness. Okay. Such a
Yeah.
good and big question.
Yes.
Um, my journey began really when I started healing from the trauma that I experienced as a child. My mother was sick really young, died really young, and it was more complex than that because she was depressed and just like very challenged in life in general. So getting ill was like, I mean, it would be for anybody,
Mhm.
so scary and so challenging. But I think there was more complexity to the chaos that I experienced as a child. And so as a result of that, there was about a 20-year period where I was just kind of stuck and frozen in the
Mm.
experience. We weren't allowed to talk about it. Nobody really talked about it. So I got all the messages like, don't talk, don't express yourself, be quiet, people please so everybody feels better and at
Mhm.
least not worse than they were
Right.
already feeling. And so I took that on. I took that job very seriously as a
Mhm.
child and a
Mhm.
teenager. And then in my early 20s, I at that point it was like I have to do something. And I had met um, the person that I then married and had children with, and he had already done some work and so on his life, and he had also had some pretty significant trauma. So he kind of was like a few steps ahead of me, which is kind of all you
Mhm.
need. And very gently ushered and also listened, and I
Mhm.
started opening things up. And so the come back to love journey I feel started like right when I started doing my healing work
Mm.
and uncovering what was causing at that point like physical issues, certainly emotional issues. I was, probably 10 years with an eating disorder at that point or more.
Mhm.
And just, needing to really find myself and
Mhm.
heal. And so, from not only that loss of my mother, but also other losses, my father, later on, I lost a partner. And it's all become about how to continue loving, for
Mhm.
me, loving myself and teaching that, overcoming these hardships and heartbreaks, and like
Mhm.
really getting to the root of the places that get stuck when
Yeah.
these things happen and not just kind of working on the surface or a little below the surface. Like my work
Hmm.
goes very, very deep because for me, I've had to like really go into the roots,
Yeah.
even this lifetime, past lifetimes, to heal what my soul, I believe, chose to work through in
Hmm.
this lifetime. So it's been a journey of figuring out what that is and really looking at it from a holistic standpoint because as a psychotherapist, I had done lots of healing, lots of therapy,
Hmm. Hmm.
and got to a point that was not even that long ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago, where I realized, okay, this is only taking me so far.
Mm.
And it's been good, it's been amazing, but there's must be something more. And then I started learning about neuroplasticity and doing that work. So it's been a journey of sort of uncovering what I call the four gates approach to healing and coming back to love.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love it. Oh,
yeah.
that's deep. So deep. That was a loaded question.
It was.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump into your book. So the book is Come Back to Love. I'd like to start by congratulating you on this recent release because it's a huge feat. I know you were so
Thank
excited.
you.
I saw, yes, I
Yes.
saw your social media post. I was like, ah, she's about to do it. I love it. This is so awesome. Yeah,
So
so for
fun.
our listeners who are going to be, just hearing about your book for the first time, I want you to share, of course, at the end, we're going to talk about where they can get their copy and all the good things. But let's start by having you take us on a journey. Like, what sparked you to write the book? How did we get here?
Well, similar to something the things that I just shared, I always felt to write my story.
Okay.
And I actually started writing memoir. That's where this began.
Okay.
And I have a lot to say and a very big story. And I thought, okay, I've got to write this down. It'll help me heal the next pieces. It'll help me process. And I started writing and I started like sort of pouring things out
Hmm.
of my being, my heart.
Yes.
And it was painful and good. And
Mm.
at some point I realized like, oh my gosh, I cannot spend a year in steeped in this material. Like, God bless those who write memoirs because it
Yes.
was
It's
excruciating,
intense. Hmm.
so intense. And
Yes.
maybe I wasn't ready for it. Maybe someday I will. Or maybe it's just not my genre because I've lived this experience. I didn't want to like steep myself in it for
Sure.
like what probably would have been the better part of a year in writing.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I decided, okay, I have a business. My business has come back to love. I've been in business since 2000. It's been
Hmm.
20, at that point, 23 years. I can blend these things and share as kind of a legacy piece. It started to turn into
Absolutely.
like a legacy piece of, where I've been in my life and then how Come Back to Love came to be and
Mm.
the impact it's had not only on me, but on all of my, or not all, but most or
Sure.
lots of my students and
Sure.
clients and workshop participants. So the book is now a blend of their stories, my story, and a whole bunch of exercises in each
Mm.
chapter that helps the reader walk through some of their journey as a starting point. And
Okay.
so it all kind of came together, and I think it breaks some rules because some of the, folks in the literary world, which, I
Mhm.
can totally appreciate, love, and
Yes.
respect,
Yeah.
will say like, don't blend memoir with, anything else really.
Hmm.
And and I would say, my story kind of weaves through the book. And so, yeah, I blended them and I think it really
I love it.
works. And I'm getting really good reviews so far. And like you said, it's just out like, you
Mm.
know, days.
Yes. Yes.
So it's the beginning of a journey
Yeah.
with this
And
book.
I love that you pointed out, Robyn, that, oh my gosh, the literary world would say, I can't do this. I wrote policy for a living for 20 years. I'm all about the
Oh,
rules and all the things, but I have to say, it's your story, it's your
mm,
journey,
yeah.
and you're the author. So the
Yeah.
only rules you have to follow is your own. And it's so interesting because, we're going to touch on this as we go further into your book, but it's all about your self-love and you. It's not about what other people think. So I'm
Yeah,
glad you went with
totally.
your heart. I'm glad you followed your intuition and that you chose to write in the style that was yours because
Yeah, thank
that's
you.
the beauty of it, right? We get to direct our own stories. It's crazy. We end
Yeah.
up in these patterns and these societal structures that tell us we have to do things a certain way. And I think we're finally in our time in the human experience we're in, seeing that you can do things the way you want to. I mean, be a rebel, right?
Yes, yes, be a
So,
rebel. And that just reminds me just to drop this in that
yeah.
Kohler Books, who's publishing my book, who has published my book, is a small family-owned publishing house. And I really get the sense that John Kohler, who began this publishing house
Yeah.
20 years ago, would agree with everything you just said.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's your story. I mean, break the
Yeah,
norms. We're beyond,
yeah,
having to follow all these rules. So,
yeah,
yeah, I was
yeah. I
gonna
think
ask
I
you
found
about
a
the
good
title, but
match.
you've already explained the
Yeah,
title, so we're good to go there. So let's talk
yeah.
about starting the day a new groove. In your book, I had a
Mm.
chance to read it, so I was so excited. I got a
Thank
little
you.
sneak peek right before it got
Yes,
released.
you did.
And you share an exercise of how to begin each day grounded and with intention. So can
Mm.
you just talk to us a little bit about that? You talk about, taking 3 sacred breaths before your feet hit the floor, but I'd love for you to walk the listeners through it because I loved it. When I read it, I stopped, I earmarked it. I was like, wait a minute, highlight, write some notes here. So let's
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, our life journey and certainly the journey that the book takes the reader through is about becoming more aware, more conscious, and more present, and
Mhm,
therefore growing the capacity to do whatever healing work is on their particular plate.
mhm, mhm.
And starting every day consciously is not something I was raised with. It was like, hurry up, rush out of bed, quickly, get into the
Yes.
bathroom, get dressed, get breakfast, get out the door. And as an adult, it's been similar. I mean, I did start going to Kripalu and practicing yoga in my 20s and sort of stepping into awareness and presence a little bit.
Hmm.
But I always tell people, whoever will listen, that, 30 seconds in the morning to take 3 breaths. And the first breath is, I love myself. So there's a
Mm,
breath and a mantra.
okay.
And, mantra meaning something to say to yourself
Hmm.
or out loud.
Hmm.
So the first breath is, I love myself.
Hmm.
The second breath is, I respect myself.
Mm,
And the third breath is, I honor myself. And,
mm,
I'm picking those are the three. You can say anything you want to
sure.
yourself, but you're slowing down, you're honoring yourself, you're um, bringing all of your energy into a present moment, and then step out of bed.
Mm,
Actually, I have a guru out in who's from India, but also has a space in California that I go to.
yeah.
And he says, step out of bed with your right foot.
Mhm.
Put it down on the ground really consciously. Get out on the right side of bed, step with your right foot in a aligned place, do it consciously, and start your day that way. It really makes a
Mm,
difference.
wow. Ooh, look at all these tools. I love it. So our listeners are going to walk away with all kinds of good stuff today. This is
Yes, I hope
awesome.
so.
Yeah. And it's so important because, like you said, oftentimes we wake up and we're already thinking about got to check the email, got to check, if you're a business owner, you've got to go through and you've got to do all your social accounts.
Yes.
If you have kids, you got to get the kids going, the dog, the cat, everybody. And
Right.
before you even get out of, your room, you've had all of this play through your mind. And not once did you set up your day for success because you went straight into autopilot mode and just to be able to jump right in and, do whatever is on that to-do list. So
Yeah.
this is a beautiful method because it allows you to just have that sacred moment to just position yourself for success before you even start all of the chaotic stuff that happens throughout the day.
100% yes.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So let's talk about access consciousness tools. We're
Mm.
living in some really interesting times, and there are so many energies at play for those that get into that space. In your book, you address ways to help release what is not yours and return to love. And I
Mm.
loved this because oftentimes I think a lot of people, I know I've done a lot of work too, so I mean I'm kind of shifting out of this space, but we just kind of accept what's happening to us, right? we think, oh, this has occurred. I've just got to kind of take it. But you
Hmm.
change that narrative. You talk about, who does this belong to, returning to sender, heavy and light. And you really walk us through how you don't have to just accept what's thrown your way. You can respond in a way that's loving, compassionate, but protects your space and your boundaries. So, can you talk to us about how each of these techniques work?
Sure, absolutely. So first, I want to give credit to Gary Douglas of Access Consciousness.
Awesome.
These are tools that are universal in the world of energy and healing and self-protection. And these specific tools, come sort of from his
Mm-hmm.
and the Access Consciousness tradition, um, and practices. So and I love them because, as you said, well, you'll see they work really well. And it's so important because, so I'm going to start actually way back.
Okay.
And when we're birth to age 6,
Mm-hmm.
probably now it's around 5 because
Hmm.
people are coming in more aware and awake.
Yeah.
Bruce Lipton, even Rudolf Steiner, like from years and years ago, and many others talked about how we just absorb. We just absorb our environment.
Mm,
We just take in like the energy,
yeah.
what people are saying, and we just, absorb everything because that's what
Mhm.
we do as babies. And
Right?
then we spend kind of the rest of our lives like sifting through, if we're
Yes.
lucky,
Mm-hmm.
what's actually ours, what's actually true for me as a being.
Mm.
That was my mother's, that was my father's, that was my grandmother's opinion, that was, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So as adults, we need to keep doing that. One, we need to do that work from, the past
Right.
and really sift through who does this belong to? Whose
Mm-hmm.
belief is this about my body, for example, let's say, because
Mm.
there's so much body shame and body
Oh,
projections. And, I
yes.
also ended up with an eating disorder for 10, 15 years because of
Yes.
all that stuff that was projected onto me and other
Mm-hmm.
reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But whose opinion is it, that somebody has to be a certain body size or look a certain way? And it
Yeah.
is really important to get that actually it was somebody's opinion,
Mm.
not, universal truth. It's
Sure.
someone's actual opinion that you took on and decided was true.
Mm-hmm.
And so, bringing in that level of awareness and then being able to, in the practices of access consciousness and the world of
Yeah.
energy, is and internal family systems work, which is,
Mm-hmm.
my primary love in the world of psychotherapy and healing, is taking those parts of those aspects of ourselves that actually were handed to us that we absorbed that are not ours and
Mm-hmm.
actually returning them to where they came from
Mm.
is such a freeing experience in the body. And so it's I've just thinking back on some classes that I've taught with this in mind, and when people do it, even if they don't fully understand it, which a lot of people, don't, they're like, what do you mean? Where am I returning
Right.
it? And isn't
Right.
that going to make that person feel worse if I send it back to
Yeah.
my mother? Aren't I, giving her pain even though she's already
Right.
passed? And it's like,
Right.
no, we return things to where they originated to free
Mm-hmm.
ourselves up to know ourselves better. And so returning that to sender. So the practice is basically, well, actually, the way that they're in order there, I'm going to go backwards.
Okay.
So we're going to start with heavy and light.
Okay.
Heavy and light is a sense of energy.
Mm.
Something feels heavy to you. It feels like draining or
Right.
irritating or like, ugh, I
Mm-hmm.
don't, and you also might sense it. Some people will sense the energy just feeling like thick and dense. When
Yeah.
that happens, we know that that thing is not in alignment with our true selves.
Mm.
And I think we spend a lot of time trying to force those things. I should do this. I'm
Agreed.
obligated to do that, right? So if it feels really light and clear and playful and not draining at all and joyful, then we know it's in alignment with our true selves. Those things we can
Mm.
hold on to and keep.
Oh.
But the other things we want to ask a question. So the
Mm-hmm.
first is tune in. Is this heavy or light? The
Mm.
second is, well, it's heavy, which means it's not mine. It's not in alignment for me. Whose is
Mm-hmm.
it?
Mm-hmm.
Now we can ask that question, and sometimes we get an answer right away. Oh, that was my mother's belief about what it is to be in a female body and what size that body should be.
Right.
That's as an example.
Yes, yes.
Um, but sometimes we don't know. Like we
Mm,
ask, who does this belong to? And we're like, I don't know. I just know it's not mine.
sure.
So, and it doesn't matter either way. And
Mm-hmm.
then we just say like 3 times, like another mantra, return to sender with consciousness, return to sender with consciousness,
Mm,
return to sender with consciousness. And then in access consciousness, we have another little piece, which is like anything that doesn't allow for that, destroy and uncreate it now, which is basically
mm,
just a saying that clears the obstacles to returning it. Because we
okay.
can have resistance to letting things go
Oh,
for a lot of reasons.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oftentimes, I believe, and I've seen this working with clients, individuals will identify with whatever that limiting belief is. They've embraced
Yes.
that as a piece and part of them. And it's almost like I want to say it was Carolyn Miss that wrote the
Mm.
book about why people don't heal,
Mm.
because they'll
Yeah,
embrace and they'll
she did.
identify with whatever condition, right, that they have, and
Yes.
they don't know what to do once that piece is gone. So
Yes.
I love how when you're talking about this in your book, it's allowing, and you do it throughout the whole book because all of the steps and all of the pieces play into how do you recreate yourself or come back to come back to loving that self, that original,
Mhm.
authentic, not fully gunked up with all of this life stuff that's happened, right?
Yeah.
Being able to get back there and understand that those aren't it's not your, issue to bear. It's not part of you that needs to stay with you. It's something that was given to you that you don't need to accept. You can return to sender. So I
Exactly.
love that you talk about that. I think it's so crucial. So many individuals are holding on to things that are not serving them or their higher self. So let's
Yes.
talk about breakthrough and transformation, though. In
Hmm.
your book, you mentioned breakthrough and transformation. And what I love is you actually said, no, there's a difference between the two. Oftentimes, those words are used so interchangeably, or they're mixed up in the same conversation. So, can you tell
Yes.
us how they're different?
Sure. And shout out to Joanna Lindenbaum, who's been one of my long-term coaches and friends
Mm,
who sort of brought this to light for me years
Like,
ago.
mhm,
Yeah, a breakthrough is a wonderful thing to experience. An aha moment in a workshop or a class or a conversation like, oh, I didn't realize that, or I understand that better now. I have insight into such and such. Really
mhm,
important. But the transformation happens when we bring that into our lives and we're living it daily now. And
okay.
so those are two different things. And I think when people are reading material,
Mhm,
seeking a coach, seeking a guide, to really assess and ask questions about
mm,
whether the person's brilliance is about
mhm.
transformation, because sometimes the
Ah,
brilliance is just about a breakthrough, and that's great.
mm, yeah.
Breakthroughs are awesome. We've all had them, hopefully, and we'll have lots more. But the living into the integration of the experience, the integration of the aha moment, so that it actually is impacting your life for the better,
Mm,
that's the transformation. And that's different, and that takes longer, and it can take some more work or some
mm,
more awareness and steps of integration. So yeah, it's really helpful to think about it, I think, and to
mhm,
separate those things out so
mhm.
that you don't get disappointed when you have an aha moment, but life hasn't changed,
Right.
which happens
Ooh, it's
a
so
lot.
true. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to really think of it in that context because when I was reading, the first thing I thought was, okay, it's the difference between gaining the knowledge and the wisdom and action. So
Yeah.
you've got it. You now
Hmm.
understand, oh, this is why this has happened. But what are you going to do about it? The transformation doesn't come until you actually implement and integrate and do all the things. So I love
Exactly.
that you called attention to that, because there's so many people right now on healing journeys. I mean, the amount of individuals who are awakening on the earth and looking at, okay, wait, I don't have to live this life. I don't have to go through this movie or this matrix the same way. And as they're doing that, as you mentioned, they're having the aha moments. And then they're like, but nothing changed. Like it's almost like figuring out the piece of the puzzle. You found it, but then you're like, but the whole picture isn't here. There's still more pieces.
Right.
So, yeah. All right,
Yeah.
let's talk about blocks to receiving. Another topic that you touch
Mm,
on is blocks to receive. You're right. It's a big one.
big
I literally
topic.
had to stop and read this a few times when I went through the book. I was like, hold on. I think we're onto something here. There is something going on. Let me read this a few times.
Yeah.
So, what would you say some of the most common blocks to receiving you're seeing in your practice? I know you're seeing a lot of folks, you see people all over the world. Are there themes and things that just really stick out?
Yes.
Mm.
The number one block to receiving is self-love and deserving. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah. And I want to back up from that and maybe get back to it, but
Sure.
even just receiving, like even the concept, like you said, oh, I have to stop, I have to read this. Like I was doing so much work and I was working with a spiritual teacher for many years in
Hmm.
my 40s and 50s, 40s into
Hmm.
50s. And I remember one time she said to me, "Okay, like now it's time to work on receiving." And I think yeah, it was like 10 years ago or less. And
Hmm.
I was like, "Receiving? Like I'm receiving all the time."
Right.
And she was like, "No, no, you're not."
Mm.
And I
Oh.
couldn't even really like understand what she was saying.
Hmm.
So that's and I said something about receiving to a client recently, and she kind of had the same reaction, like, "Well, what do you mean?"
Hmm.
And I think, you know, we just to start there for our listeners to say, like, to sort of assess, like, do you have enough money in your life? Do you have the love in your life that you desire? Do you have the work
Mm.
and the purpose? You know, that's all about receiving because we're allowing in what we feel that we deserve. And if we aren't yet loving ourselves as deeply as we possibly can and knowing that we deserve to receive everything
Hmm.
that we want, then somewhere in the energy system, things are coming towards us, but there's blocks. So
Mm.
there's some money, but not enough. There's maybe some nice, playful relationships, but nothing that's lasting, or, you know, fill in the blank with whatever you're working with in your life,
Mm.
listeners. Um,
Yes.
and when we're willing to allow everything to come towards us without judgment, without saying this is right, this is wrong, we're just in complete allowance for everything that comes to us. And again, not judging, which is the big piece, and knowing that we deserve it,
Mm.
then we can receive a lot more. So those are
Oof.
two blocks that I mentioned. So I want to name them
Yeah.
again so it's clear. One, the first one that's the most obvious is the deserving. I love
Hmm.
myself. I know I deserve to have the best life possible. All those voices that said, no, you don't, get to return to sender and clear out of your field. And then the
Yeah.
other piece has to do with judgment. And because we've learned, and our minds are
Hmm.
very good at this is good,
Mm.
this is bad, this is right, this is
Right.
wrong,
Right.
right? When we
Hmm.
do that, we're actually blocking a whole bunch of things, like because we've decided, you know, this this guy with, you know, brown hair isn't the one I was visualizing with blonde hair. So anybody who has brown hair who's coming towards me, I'm like, no, that's not good.
Hmm.
Um, and that's just a way of really blocking the universe from gifting you with everything that you deserve to have and to experience in life. So those two pieces are pretty, like, several books could be written just on that.
I agree. I was going to say, I feel like another book is coming out. No pressure.
Yeah,
You just got started, but no
I
pressure.
did.
Yeah. It's interesting because as you were talking, it was really just kind of coming to, fruition here in my mind, like, wow, the giver and the taker conversation, right?
Yes.
And the givers, and I've always been a giver. So you struck a few chords here while you were talking. I was like, oh, okay, I see where this is hitting, right?
Right.
It's hard if you have been historically a giver to
Yes.
receive because you feel like your role is to give. Like you're not
Yes.
supposed to receive, you're supposed to give. You're the nurturer, you're the caretaker. And if
Yes.
there's been a storyline or a narrative that's run where receiving comes with conditions, you associate receiving very negatively. So if you're receiving something, it can really throw you off. And I mean, I'm talking from personal experience here, but
Yes.
it can really get you in this mind space where you're just like, ooh, to receive is dangerous. There are things that are associated, there are conditions that come with it. So it's better to give because then I don't ever get into that loop. So just kind of came to mind, and I'm sure, that's I'm not the only one that's having this conversation that was like, oh, wait a minute. So it's redefining, it's going in and doing that work, the judgment piece that you mentioned, thinking that, well, it has to be this way, because in our minds, we're very good at this as humans, compartmentalizing things, right? And so
Yes.
we've already kind of come up with an answer of, oh, yeah, yeah, that's not going to work. We're going to put that right over there on the shelf because we've seen this before, we've experienced it, and we can't imagine that it could turn out differently. Yeah.
Yes, I'm
Wow.
really glad you brought in that piece around being a giver and
Mm,
the sometimes associated conditions that
yes.
get put into place for receiving. And
Mm-hmm.
because it's so common, like if someone gives, I'm saying, what you hear
Sure.
often is like, well, if someone
Sure.
gives me something, I have to give back to them,
Yeah.
or I have to perform in this way. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, then it just is like, no, thank you.
Right.
And we mentioned earlier about people pleasing, which I learned very well.
Ooh,
Um,
yes.
when you're people pleasing, it's all about being a giver and doing things for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the receiving, even just having that attention
Mm-hmm.
turned towards me when I was a child, a teenager, and even early in my adult life. Like I couldn't tolerate people looking at me
Mm-hmm.
because for me, it was all about putting energy out and making other people feel good and feel better
Yes.
in my perception,
Sure.
misperception.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and I'm even just putting something together right now in this conversation with you, Kristen, like
Yeah.
that shyness, as I used to
Mm-hmm.
call it, was
Mm-hmm.
really about just not wanting the energy to come towards me because I didn't think I deserved it, and it made me uncomfortable because all
Right.
of it for me was about, again, just putting it out and
Yes.
keeping everybody else happy. So even having a
Oh,
group of people sing happy birthday to me when I
felt
was
uncomfortable.
younger felt uncomfortable. And even now, a
Yeah.
little bit, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, turn
So I'm like,
away.
hurry up, we get it over with. Don't take out the
Yes.
camera. Like,
Yep.
okay, cut the
Yep.
cake already.
Cut the cake and I'm done.
Uh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I am with you. I am exactly the same way in that sense. I'm always like, okay, all right, enough over here. Which is funny, right? Because we both
Yeah.
have radio shows and podcasts, and it puts us front and center. But I'm with
Yes.
you. I'm like, okay, we're done. Now move
Yeah.
on. Next, focus over there. We finished what we came here to do and accomplished. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
It takes a lot to receive. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Ooh, big one. Okay, I definitely have some homework. So thank you for that.
Me
I
too.
love it. Yes. All right, so we're going to jump into the four gates. This is going to get
Mm.
juicy. So I know there's a lot to cover here. In your book, you talk about the four gates to work through to experience complete healing. You've got emotional healing, healing the mind, understanding our soul journey, and befriending our body. So I'd like for you to kind of walk through each one of those gates so our listeners get a general idea. Of course, they need to go get the book so they can get all the good, juicy stuff and get the exercises. But I'd
Yes.
love for them to hear a little bit about each of those gates and just get a better understanding as how they play into the healing process.
Sure. Thank you for asking.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take our listeners on a little journey
Okay.
because for me, it's very visual.
Hmm.
And the Four Gates approach showed up on a long walk and drive down to a spot on the beach where workshop participants of mine were getting married.
Mm-hmm.
And they met and fell in love in my workshop rooms. And then I was attending their wedding and I was
Oh.
talking about it a lot. And it's very
Mm-hmm.
moving. It's happened many times, not just that once.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's babies and weddings and all kinds of things that have happened as a result. Um, and and it just all sort of crystallized for me. And so I want to just invite anyone who's listening to picture themselves on a path that's really beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
green grass and benches and just lovely trees and just gorgeous wherever you find
Mm-hmm.
yourselves. And the although it's a path, so we think of it as linear, I just want to say it's not linear because of course these things aren't linear.
Mm-hmm.
And what I had envisioned and what I vision now as I'm working with my clients and students is that we're taking each aspect of healing separately,
Okay.
even though there's some overlap.
Mm-hmm.
But we're focusing at each gate on a
Okay.
particular methods
Mm-hmm.
and way of approaching the healing. Like I had said earlier, I did so much work in the emotional realm, which is gate one, but
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't actually complete some of the healing I was doing until I moved to gate two, which is about the mind and the work of neuroplasticity.
Okay.
So the first gate is the emotional realm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, we're really looking at what happened in the past that's still impacting the present.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very important question.
Yeah.
And what do we actually want to create that's different? And what do we want to
Mm.
experience and create that's different going forward?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different meditations. There's a bridgeback meditation. There's some shamanic journeying, et cetera, to do this work. Very much steeped in internal family systems work, as I mentioned, which is
Okay.
like so valuable with this work,
Yeah.
with this type of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we spend a lot of time there. And
Okay.
a lot of people that come to work with me or participate in a retreat or a workshop have done some work.
Mm-hmm.
People often come to me when they've done some work and they're just kind of like, wait, I've done some, but it's not fully healing. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still stuck, mostly
Right.
in the realm of relationship and love, whether you're,
Mm-hmm.
they're partnered or not. There's
Mm-hmm.
something that's stuck there. So once we do uh, complete that gate and do, a really good amount of healing work,
Mm-hmm.
um, again, looking at what's happened in the past that's still impacting the present. Then we move
Mm.
to gate two, which is
Okay.
steeped in the neuroscience of what is happening in the brain, what
Mm.
neural pathways got stuck, and the neuroplasticity work is absolutely so powerful. I just
Mm.
love this work. I do full the weeks at Kripalu and the weeks at Omega are actually like almost solely about the neuroplasticity work because it's
Mm.
so powerful. The tools are very specific. They have to do with pausing, stopping thoughts mid thought, rewiring the brain,
Mm-hmm.
rewiring issues of attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
rewiring that people pleasing tendency,
Mm-hmm.
um, learning how to receive in that process,
Oof.
and blocking thoughts that are bringing you down.
Mm.
You know, as soon as you get
Mm-hmm.
up in the morning, if you don't take those 3 breaths and
Right.
slowly get out of bed consciously, you could wake up feeling, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a terrible day today. And I'm so stressed out. I have
Mm.
these 8 things to do and I'm not
Mm.
good enough to finish them all. And I just can't get it. Like even just saying that here as an example feels icky. It's like
Yeah.
I
I
don't
feel
spend
the
any
anxiety
time.
rising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like,
don't spend any time in that realm anymore. It's just I
mm-hmm.
know how to stop those thoughts. And the thing is once you stop them and you practice, because neuroplasticity is about the frequency of practice, you have to, retrain the brain to do something
Mm-hmm.
different. Those thoughts don't pop up anymore. That's the most miraculous piece. They just don't
Mm-hmm.
show up. So that work, gate two, beyond the mind, so important and so valuable when it comes to healing. I really believe you can't just do the emotional. You have to also do the neuroplasticity work at the
Yeah.
same time or right after
Mm-hmm.
to really have a deep impact on your life and your life trajectory from this point forward. Gate three has to do with the soul journey, and I referenced it a little bit here earlier. Like, why did your soul come at this time?
Mm.
And what was the purpose? Like my
Sure.
soul took on a lot this lifetime. I took
Yeah.
on a big hefty portion of my evolution,
Uh-huh.
for sure, with, all the things that have happened. But
Yeah.
all of our souls come in with something that is healing and evolving and changing and growing so that the
Mm-hmm.
next lifetime you're on to the next thing, but you've healed and already evolved from whatever happened in this lifetime. And
Right.
so there's a specific exercise, along with some Akashic record readings, which I
Mm-hmm.
do with my clients as well sometimes, but a way to get a glimpse of what that is. And
Okay.
actually, once you do look at it and see it, the micro becomes much broader and vaster and deeper. And it's
Mm.
easier to see, okay, this is what the purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could spend, okay, my mother died, my father died, both very young. I was in love after my divorce and my partner died. Like I could get into like, oh my God, why am I living this
Right.
life? Like, you
Right.
know, or I could go way out and get a much broader view on the
Mm-hmm.
purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gate three. And continuing on, gate four has to do with befriending the body. I already spoke about for myself eating disorders, body shame, body hate, and coming to loving our bodies. Our bodies are our guides, they're our container for our souls, they're our
Mm-hmm.
vehicles. We need to love our bodies. And so that's the fourth gate.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah. And I bet you that one is quite a challenge for many.
Yeah.
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 Pulling that back together because there's so many stories and yeah, so many things that happen in our human experience that have either got you loving your body, disliking your body, disassociated from your body, all of the things.
Yes, exactly.
Whew. All right. So you talk about your comeback to love healing plan. I love that you conclude, you come at the end of the book and you talk about this healing plan. You just pull everything together. It's nicely packaged and you provide actionable steps. So what are the key takeaways that you want readers to walk away with from their healing plan? Like what are some of the big rocks that are there?
Well, mostly I want them to know that it's possible.
Mm,
I mean, honestly feel like if I could live through what I lived through, and yeah, are there worse, more intense stories? 100%, of
mhm,
course. Like all over the world. I mean, we don't have to get into it, but we know.
yeah.
And I still feel like it was a lot. Like I lived through more than most people that I personally know.
Mhm,
And if I could come through that and have like this amazing, thriving, rich life of community and love and amazing business and connections with people and great children
mhm,
that I co-raised, I just feel like anybody can. And I really want people to know that at the end. And that last chapter on the healing path, the subtitle of the book is A Path to Healing. And
mhm,
yes, it takes you through the four gates as you read chapter to chapter. And then at the
mhm,
end, I want people to kind of integrate and look and say, like, okay, I can, I can, I can heal, I can grow,
mhm,
I can make changes. But I also want them to look back and say, right now, I'm ready for this piece. And that
mhm,
piece I'll look at later.
mhm,
Right now, I want to focus on the emotional healing. So, what are the things that I can do to focus on that?
yeah.
Find a coach, find a therapist if there isn't one already. Go to my website, look to see what's
Mhm,
next in terms of, connecting with me, connecting with
mm,
you, whoever, but like
mhm,
what specific steps? Because the aha moments will come during the book, and this is
mhm,
where that coming back to that piece, but the
yeah.
transformation is in the follow through and the action. So I
Mhm,
really wanted the book to support that and support people in taking steps and moving forward.
oof. Love it, love it, love it. Well, we are getting close to the end of our time together. I feel like we could do a few
Yes.
episodes, honestly,
Yeah.
on this topic for sure. So I'd love to give you an opportunity to share your one message with listeners. What is your one message to the world about coming back to love? What would it be?
Hmm.
Mm, I know. No pressure.
I have this saying that I say a lot, and it is love no matter what. And it's
Mm,
a really tall order.
oh,
I like to say it's like a steep invitation
mm,
because it is.
mhm,
And a lot of times in my workshops or classes, we'll close with allowing love to seep into all the cells in our bodies and really take it in. And I guide that step by step so that the obstacles relax and we're actually able to do it
mhm,
tangibly for ourselves. And then the second step is to invite people to send that love out. And one of
mhm,
the things, I won't go through the whole thing now because we're towards the end, but one of the things that I do invite people to do is send love where you've already judged the person doesn't deserve it.
mhm,
So it's the same way our minds do right, wrong, good, bad, right? We can say, oh,
mhm,
that person doesn't deserve love.
mhm.
And I would beg to differ that all
Yeah.
humans deserve love.
Mm,
And so I invite people to send love to where they've already been said to themselves, ugh, that person doesn't. Because
mhm,
love no matter what is love no matter what. And when we
mhm.
shut down something, we're also shutting down something in ourselves.
Yeah.
So, and then once we do that, we come back to ourselves and fill ourselves up again.
Ooh.
So, Yeah, I would like to
Oh,
leave our listeners with
beautiful.
that to contemplate.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, Robyn, please share with our listeners how they can get in touch with you to learn more about your services, your retreats, and then also where can they find your book?
Hmm.
Mm,
Okay, so come back to love.com. That's easy.
okay. Mm-hmm.
All spelled out. If you want a taste of the book, you can download the first chapter when you go to my website and then, take a look at that. And then from there, you can really get the book anywhere. Amazon.com would be the best for my ratings as an
Sure.
author. Um, and yeah, also on my website, there are some free gifts. You can, they're very clearly labeled there, free,
Yeah.
and you can also connect with me. I have different ways for people to come and be with me live just to kind of get a
Mhm.
taste for who I am and the work that I do. So I invite all of
Wonderful.
you to come back to love.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for your time on the show. I know you're super duper busy. You have a lot going on, getting the book launched and sharing all of the goodness with our world and getting everybody to come back to love. So I thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Kristen, for having me.
Thank-
I'm a fan of yours and I'm very
Oh,
happy to be
thank you.
here with you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, for our listeners, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of the Surviving the Human Experience podcast. And until next time, be well and stay blessed.